You walked past a $4 spinnerbait to grab the $15 one with the better paint job. Meanwhile, the guy fishing the other side of that same pond is bending his rod on a bait that cost him pocket change. That is not luck. That is bait selection, and most anglers get it backwards. Here is the ugly truth the tackle aisle does not want you to figure out. Bass do not read price tags. They do not care which lure had the prettiest box, the loudest packaging, or the most hype behind it. They eat what looks like food, where they expect to find it, moving the way it should. That is the whole game. And some of the cheapest, most ignored lures hanging at Walmart do exactly that, while the expensive ones sit in your box collecting dust and guilt. So today, I am handing you 7 cheap baits most anglers walk right past. Not because they are junk, because they look boring next to the trend baits. By the end, you will know which ones deserve a permanent spot in your box, which one you have to check before you can trust it, and why the cheapest bait on this whole list might be the most dangerous thing you can tie on. Number 1 is the Booyah Pond Magic, and if you have ever fished a pond, you have probably ignored it.
All right, we are back with the Booyah spinnerbait. Today's gonna be all sunny, so this is gonna be a decent sunny lure.
It is a tiny spinnerbait, 3/16 of an ounce, and the first time most guys see it, they think it is a toy. That is the mistake. It runs tandem blades, a 60-strand skirt, and a 2/0 Moostad hook on a bait that usually sits in the bin around $5. Here is why it works. Pond bass and small water bass spend their lives eating tiny bluegill, minnows, and fry. They are not waiting on a magnum spinnerbait the size of your hand to come thumping by. They want a snack. The Pond Magic matches that small forage, gives off flash and vibration, and you can fish it without even adding a trailer. Most anglers keep throwing a dinner plate at fish that are eating appetizers. Then they blame the pond. The bass were biting. You just showed up with the wrong size. Stop throwing the big meal when the fish are eating small. Number 2 is the Strike King Bitsy Bug, and this one fixes a problem most guys do not even know they have.
In the Strike King lineup, and that's the Bitsy Bug mini jig.
Everybody buys jigs. Then they grab the biggest, bulkiest one on the rack because it looks serious. The Bitsy Bug is the little one nobody reaches for, and that is exactly why it gets bites. A pressured bass that has had 10 full-size jigs flipped past its face all weekend is not scared of a small one. It looks like an easy crawdad, not a fight. Throw it on black and blue or a craw color, add a small craw trailer, and work it slow. Anglers report it shining in early spring around rock and wood. One nuance, because I'm not going to lie to you. The standard Bitsy Bug has a lighter hook. If you are dragging it through heavy cover and worried about bending one out, Strike King makes the Bitsy flip with a stronger hook. Use that one in the gnarly stuff. The bass did not want a steak. It wanted something small enough to inhale without thinking. Number 3 is the Zoom Trick Worm, and this is the cheap soft plastic that should embarrass half the plastics already in your box.
They come in these very pretty tri-colors, and this is the old original Zoom worm that when
6.5 inches, straight tail, usually a 20-pack for around $6. No claws, no ribs, no scent chamber, no tail that looks like a science experiment. Boring on purpose. Bass have been eating boring worms since before any of us were born. Rig it weightless and twitch it through shallow cover, dead stick it, or drop it on a shaky head or a Carolina rig. It works fished a dozen different ways. It really turns on after the spawn and keeps producing straight through summer into early fall, but do not box it into one season. This is the part that separates anglers from tackle collectors. You do not need a $12 pack of designer plastic to fool a fish. The bass does not know this worm came off a Walmart peg. It just knows it looks like food and moves like food. Number 4 is the YUM Dinger, and this is where the budget guys win and the snobs get quiet. It is a stick bait, the same family as the lure everybody pays premium for, except it costs less and it lasts longer. That is not a small thing. A soft plastic that tears off after one fish is not cheap. It is expensive by the fish because you are burning through the pack and re-rigging instead of catching. The Dinger gives you that slow gliding fall that triggers bites, works wacky rigged, and holds up on a Texas rig around docks, weeds, and laydowns without shredding every cast. Reviewers have pointed out it takes several fish before it gives up, which is more than you can say for a lot of softer, pricier plastics. Now, some guys will still swear the original premium stick falls a hair better, and that is a fair argument. But for the angler who wants to actually fish instead of constantly replacing torn baits, the Dinger does the job for less. The base does not check the brand before it eats a slow-falling worm. Number 5 is the Cotton Cordell Big O, and this old squarebill gets ignored for one dumb reason. It looks plain next to the modern crankbaits with the airbrushed scales and the holographic everything. Here's the thing, that paint does not catch fish, the action does, and the Big O has been catching bass since 1973. It is a 1/3 ounce squarebill that runs the shallow 3 to 5 foot zone with a side-to-side body roll and a loud rattle. That range is exactly where bank anglers live, banging riprap, laydowns, stumps, and pond edges. A squarebill is built to deflect off cover and trigger a reaction strike, and you are supposed to crash it into stuff. That is the whole point. A squarebill is not supposed to stay pretty. It is supposed to bounce off a stump and get bit. If your crankbait still looks showroom clean after a season, you are not throwing it where the fish are. Pretty paint does not deflect off wood. A square lip does. Throw it where you would be scared to lose the expensive one. Number 6 is the Hedden Tiny Torpedo. And this is for everybody who thinks you need a $20 plopper to catch a fish off the top. You do not. The Tiny Torpedo is a small prop bait, under 2 inches, and anglers keep calling it underrated for a reason. It spits and splashes and throws surface disturbance with a quick, erratic twitch, and it does it for a few bucks. It is not just a small fish bait either, no matter what the size tricks you into thinking. Fish it on calm mornings and evenings, around creek mouths, on small lakes, and when bass are schooling and busting bait on top. Work it with short, sharp twitches and let it sit. One honest warning, it is a prop bait, so it hates floating grass. Throw it into a salad of weeds, and you will spend more time cleaning the hooks than fishing. Keep it over open water and clean edges. Not every topwater bite needs a lure that sounds like a lawnmower with trebles. Sometimes a little splash is all it takes. Number 7 is the one most people actually picture when they hear Walmart lures, and it is the riskiest pick on this list. The Ozark Trail House brand hard baits, square bills, minnows, little crankbait kits, all dirt cheap, sometimes a 5-piece kit for around $10. And here is where I am not going to sell you a fairy tale. These baits can catch fish, they can. But the corner that cheap, hard baits cut is almost always the same one, the hooks. Anglers have warned for years that the cheapest crankbaits save money on hooks and split rings, and some of them do not run straight out of the package. A bait that tracks sideways or carries a dull, soft hook will cost you fish and never tell you why. So treat the Ozark Trail crankbait like what it is. It is the bait you throw where you're too scared to chuck a $15 one into the nastiest snags and rock you can find. But before you trust it, run it next to the bank or in the bathtub. Make sure it tracks straight and touch up or swap the hooks if they are dull. Cheap is fine. Untuned, dull hook cheap is how a bargain turns into a fish story about the one that got away. Before you go stuffing your box with 40 colors, keep it simple. Green pumpkin and watermelon in clear water. Black and blue or June bug when it is dirty. Shad, chrome, or white when the bass are chasing bait. That covers most of what you will ever face, and it beats buying a rainbow you will never throw. Here is the bottom line. Not every cheap bait is a gem, and not every expensive one is a waste. But the tackle aisle does not care whether you catch fish. It only cares whether you keep buying. The water is where the truth comes out, and these 7 cheap ignored baits tell that truth more often than the shiny stuff hanging at eye level. Subscribe to Tackle Hank, because before you buy it, tie it on or cast it out. You better know whether it catches fish or just fishermen.